This podcast is proudly supported by the Ōtara Network Action Committee, ONAC, community owned, community driven and community led.
Tēnā koutou katoa, or Charlotte and Huia. We're just here to have a kōrero about all things Ōtara.
Kia ora, hi, I'm Ana, 274 Cleanup Queen.
Kia ora, I'm Chevelle from the 274 Cleanup Queens.
Kia ora, I'm Huia, and I supported these beautiful wahine here on their 274 cleanup, and they're the queens. So I'm just going to ask some questions, eh? So because I know we went out on what day was it?
Monday.
Tuesday.
I thought it was Monday too.
Was it Tuesday? Okay, kapai. So we all went out on Tuesday, but before we talk about that, how did this all come about? Like, what is this? As a cleanup queen, what does that mean?
But I think as a 274 Cleanup Queen, I think just being as a small collective, managing waste. Yeah.
Cool. So with that, how did it actually start? Like, where was the start? Did you both like get called in, or how did that all come about?
I think just a group that was created from our boss Judy.
Yeah. So Jude is the boss, but so Jude got the contract from, or who was that contract from?
A lovely lady called Erin from Beautification Trust. And that also works for Auckland Council.
Cool. So Charlotte, just ask you, because I'm going to ask you questions too, eh? So Charlotte, you sort of come in. When you come in, and I'm guessing that you spoke to Jude and the Beautification Trust, how did that come about? Like, what was the beginning of that kōrero?
I think, so with my Ōtara Waterways and Lakes Trust, Lake Trust hat on, we were doing when I first started here, we were doing neat streets. And that was an initiative to clean up street by street in Ōtara, with a focus on the homes that back onto our waterways and the places that we were trying to restore. And that contract sadly ended, and the girls, or Judy and the Beautification Trust, I was going to say Manukau Beautification Trust, but they're not that anymore, who, by the way, aren't contracted by council, I don't think. They've just come under their own, but that's for them to, that's a kōrero that they can speak to, or Erin can speak to, but they saw the need, because they do graffiti and stuff all over the place.
So that's the graffiti with our kids.
Yes.
Have been involved in?
So part of that, yeah. Did you do the graffiti clean-up?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what was that when we talk about the graffiti, and it was the kids, when the kids come in, the gig camp? Yeah. So what was that? What happened there?
So I think we actually got funded to actually help paint our MIT. Cool. And that was to do with police too.
Cool.
So yeah, we had all our tamariki, get up, really paint out an MIT. Yeah.
Cool. So geared up, what did you have to wear?
Yes. What else? A high vis.
Yep.
And what is that one called?
Oh, overalls.
Overalls.
The white what I remember seeing there. So you all got geared up, and the police came along.
Yep.
And what did you do?
Well, we're for Hikoi up into Ōtara town centre.
Cool. And so there you would have spotted whatever graffiti.
Yep.
And then so you fellas. So how many tamariki were there at that time?
So
10, 15?
yeah, good. 10, about 20.
Cool. So that happened Would that have been last year? Year before?
Year before and last year.
Oh.
Yeah, I think this holidays it was meant to happen again, but the rain, the weather, and that stopped us.
So it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So possibly the next ski camp next year.
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely, it's an ongoing thing. You know, it's all part of keeping Ōtara beautiful. I suppose it's that whole start of the things that we can do.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I've noticed anyway when we do anything in the reserve or around here on Lovegrove, it's you guys that notice. You're the first ones to notice the things, and yeah, that's what I love about the mahi that yous do, is about that noticing and then finding out what can we do about it, or what can yous do about it, and knowing that yous do have that power to be able to pass that on, make that, decide what needs to happen, and then go and do it. And I think this the door knocking stuff is a progression on from that.
So, the other day when we were walking around, and Ana, you noticed, I can't remember the street that we're down, and you were saying that there used to be big gardens along
Ferguson
there.
Road.
Ferguson. And then we sort of went past, and there was an old kraua in there, and I think it was kumaras or something. So before doing this work, would you have noticed those sorts of things? Like I was watching both of you, and you were like talking to each other. Would you have, if you weren't doing this, would that be something that you would notice?
Yeah.
Yeah? And what would you do about that and noticing it? Because you noticed that both of you saw those things being dumped. And then you took a photo, and then you were going to send it somewhere. So if you weren't doing this mahi and you noticed it, what would you normally do?
I think I just would have walked right past it.
Ignore it.
Yeah. So so from the kids, the kids in Geek Camp went out, did the graffiti, and then I'm guessing from the graffiti it went on to this work, this mahi. So for both of you, and I'm going to start with you, Chevelle, where do you live? I don't want the address, but where do you live? Yeah. Where have you always lived though, before Māngere?
Here in Ōtara.
Okay. So Ōtara, what schools did you go to?
Ferguson, Nindara. Those are the only schools.
Then. Yep. Awesome. For you, Ana, where do you live?
Ōtara.
Yeah. What schools did you go to?
I went to Hillary and
Nice. So you're both local way. Even though you live in Māngere, you're both 274.
Yep.
Okay, ka pai. So now, and just so that whoever's listening and watching this, they can paint a picture that you're two local girls, wahine, who are doing mahi on the whenua. Yeah. So just, and I'm thinking back to when I was with you, and Charlotte, you've been with both Ana and Chevelle. So just want to have a kōrero about that. So what are some of the things for either of you that you've learned? And I know you shared this the other day. What are some of the things that you've learned during your time here? And Charlotte, if you want to, you can prompt.
So I suppose a start would be what to do when you see waste, like rubbish.
You can take a photo and record it.
And is there anything from your visit to the Zero Waste Hub, did that help you to understand a little bit more this mahi?
Because what did they do? Like I'm thinking zero waste, but I don't know what that means. So what did they actually do when you went there? What did you observe?
That they actually get out inorganics and they actually recycle it.
So do they do that by hand or is it a machine?
So they'll probably have to get like trailers of stuff. So that's usually by machine. But they have lovely people that recycle them a lot.
Wow.
So anything that's somebody else's trash that they've thrown out. That's what I love about inorganics is that, and I used to really love it when back in the day you used to just be able to put out whatever you wanted on the side of the road, and at a certain time of the week the trucks would come around and pick it all up. But they had to stop because people were coming in from outside of Auckland and just dumping stuff, and people were going through and leaving it on the roads and making it quite dangerous. But yeah, so now I think the reason behind the inorganics booking in, the booking tool, which is what yous are promoting,
Yep.
when you do the door knocking, is to let people know that here's a time and a space that you need to book in to be able to put your stuff out. And the reason that that's beautiful and why I think yous visiting and seeing what happens to that end product is that it's, number one, stopped it from just being illegally dumped somewhere, you know, because then we all know that where's it going to end up? In our creeks and our waterways, all over our roads. It's unsafe for our little tamariki when you have that stuff dumped there, and sort of being out for yous to be able to know that something that one person's thrown out goes to this place, and then they fix it up, and then somebody else can love it again, you know, or choose to have that to reuse it, so it doesn't go into landfill.
That's cool.
So that was sort of a question that I wanted to ask you was, do you know what happens when so for example, not particularly inorganic stuff, but when we throw things into the red bin, our red bin at home, what happens to that afterwards?
So that all goes to landfill.
And it all gets buried into our whenua. And when it's stuff that inorganic, which means it doesn't break down, it's not a food or a green, you know, a plant that will break down and turn into compost and feed the whenua. When it's inorganic, it just sits there and it doesn't go anywhere. So the mahi that yous are doing is actually so important in the fact, on so many levels, but in the fact that, you know, people do have a place that, because everything has its place, everything has a place, everything has a story. And so what is happening by yous, you know, letting people know that here's this tool that we have that you can put rubbish out here and on this day, you know, is pretty powerful, because not everybody, you would presume that everybody knew, but until you started doing this mahi,
Not everybody knows.
Yeah.
Eh? Yeah. So talking about tools, what are your tools that you take with you? What's your preparation?
So we take an iPad.
Yep.
Pamphlets.
And the iPad is for?
It's for our sheet. So we have guidelines of door knocking. So usually it'll be just questions. Something you could like ask person of the house. Person comes to the door.
Cool. So I remember when you handed me, I think it was the sheet of all the streets. Who decides what streets? Like, how does that come about?
I think just pick. Yeah, really.
Yeah. So you're given the streets. You don't choose the streets, eh? Okay. So you're given the streets, and those streets, you just go along the streets. So that's what we did. We just chose a couple of streets, parked up, and then walked along. Yeah. So in that hikoi that we have, what are you looking for?
We are looking for inorganics. So if we go to one house and we see that they got inorganics outside, we'll go up to their house.
Cool. What other things are you looking for or looking at?
Just mainly just make sure we're looking for any hazards. Roaming dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there are any hazards that you can see, then you don't enter the property, and possibly just leave a pamphlet.
Yeah.
So what are your pamphlets? What do they say? Because I noticed there was 2 different types of pamphlets.
Oh yeah, so one's for the inorganics, so we usually have the deadline in front and what you can and cannot put in your inorganics inside.
Cool. And the other one, Chevelle?
The one.
Can you answer this one?
That will be
The date when it closes, is it? That one?
no. It's if we want actually to scan on a QR code for recycling sensors. Like if you and that'll be good for let's say anything that can't go in inorganics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that they know, eh?
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. So you know when you've talked to people, what's the feedback? Like what do they say? Hello, go away. What's the general feedback? Are they happy about having a kōrero?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they know about the inorganics?
Yeah, so that's 50-50 for what we hear people talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Anything else that you can think of, you know, and now, because I thought it was fascinating, just going up and down the streets and just noticing things. Would never notice it being in the car, just walk past, I drive past it, don't think anything of it. The first street I noticed that was quite clean, eh?
Yeah.
Yep. That first street, it was like quite pristine. They all had like their hedges were all nicely cut and there was heaps of flowers and gardens. So that first street was really nice. And I think, was it you were saying that this is probably the wrong street because it was so nice. But then we went down, was that when we went down Ferguson? Yeah, and that was different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so different to that other street.
Yep.
That on one of the bins, it had a thing on there. Did you noticed it? What was that?
Yes. So I think it said what can and cannot go in. The green bin or the yellow bin.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was actually placed on nearly all the bins in the street.
Yeah, yeah. And it said something about the rest of the neighbours, eh?
Yeah.
Your neighbours are the same. So it was almost like everybody along that street was doing the same thing. It's pretty cool. I would have never noticed that. I think it was, I don't know if it was you, Chevelle, or you, Ana, that noticed it. Oh, it was you. I can't wait.
And is that something you know about, the recycling side of things? Because I know that's a huge topic at the moment, just because they've gone and changed it on everybody again.
Change.
So what you can put in. So before in Auckland, we used to be able to put bottles with their lids, as long as they were clean, put them in.
Yeah. But
Now
you
you've got
can't.
to take the lids off
Yeah.
and still rinse them and put them in. No plastic. A lot of people seem to think that, oh, when I filled up my red bin, I'll just put it in my recycle bin, but they don't realise that by doing that, they've contaminated the whole recycling bin, so that needs to go in the landfill. Yeah, did you know about the changes and stuff?
Yeah.
So what days do you go out and do your work?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
What sort of, I mean, it's coming up to summer. I know the day that we went out, oh my God, it was so hot. It felt like melting. What sort of hours do you usually do during those days?
Really just try and get an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On each street, eh?
Yep.
As much as you can. Cool. If a young person came to you and said, I want to do what you do, what would you say to them?
Start now would be a tidy Kiwi.
Yeah, that's me. What about for you?
I'm
No,
not
sure.
anything.
Yeah. Maybe would you consider possibly getting them to come in and help? To see what it's
Exactly.
like? Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. I don't have any other partai. Anything from anybody else want to ask a question? ask me a question?
Is for you, do you feel like you have enough answers to any questions that you have concerning like waste, how it affects our waterways, recycling? Because you know, in that, when you think about the mahi that yous are doing now, you wouldn't, it's just rubbish, right? And that's what a lot of people, it's just rubbish, you know. But actually the effects from that rubbish that people, or that has been dumped, or that ends up in our waterways, are long-reaching, far-reaching, you know. There's things, that's the sad thing about inorganic rubbish, is that you could discard, for example, a tin can, an aluminium can, and that aluminium can will be there when your grandchildren are born and walking around. So to me, when I think about that, I'm thinking, man, that's long term. But when you're living in the moment, that's not a thing that you think about. We've consumed this product and we've dumped it. We're not thinking about those long term things and effects. Do you think that that is something that more young people, or anybody actually, not just young people, but needs to know about? Like, and how would you get that message across, doing what you do now for mahi, and knowing that, well, I hope that it's a passion for you, that you are thinking about the long-term effects. How would you go about letting, say, your younger sister or somebody that you know, because you know that there's it's a job that is a long-term thing, you know, just like our rubbish is long-term. Is there anything that you would say to somebody who was younger than you that was not interested now, because, you know, they're just worried about themselves and their friends and doing what they're doing, but if you were to think about the future and mahi and stuff, yeah, there's got to be something. No? Is that just me as an old person thinking?
No comment. I wanted to just check in with both of you, because I know before we started, and I know we're recording, but we can edit at any time. So I know before we started, I asked the question, do you know the purpose of this? And you both said no. Do you have, like you're here now, and we're having this kōrero, but what do you think is the purpose of what you do?
Just trying to keep the world a cleaner place. Ōtara, cleaner place.
And for you?
Basically the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think what you both do makes a difference? Yeah? Yeah? No?
Yep.
Okay, kapai. Even though, you know, sometimes when we're in work, there's some things that are quite challenging. This would be one of the things. Because I know that you both are quite uncomfortable about being on show. I get that. Sometimes in being uncomfortable, that's when you learn. And the learning is more about each one of you, because you're both still quite young. We're like the, for a better word, old bags. And Vinny. Yeah. Vinny is our man. So I just want to acknowledge both of you for stepping into that uncomfortable, because it's never a nice feeling to have. However, I want to also acknowledge and appreciate the fact that you both did it. You may not have liked it, but you both did it. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to just pull from you the mahi. And it is important mahi. It is so important, because whatever we take away from our whenua, if we don't take it away, we're going to drink it or we're going to eat it. So that rubbish is toxic, not just to our whenua, but to us as people. And yet, the world revolves around Ōtara because that's where we live.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. Anything
No,
that you
that
want
was
to
beautiful.
share?
That summed it up. Yeah, and I just wanted to just say on that note that in that uncomfortableness comes growth. You know, I remember when we first went out and you were like, man, you know. I'm like, okay, I did it, you know, and a few times, and I was like, right now it's your turn, and then you just like, and so from there to here, amazing mahi, and yous are amazing wahine, amazing tai tamariki, you know, and know that the even though you might not see the purpose or the reason right now, just the fact that you're in here turning up every day and doing it and willing to learn that's, you know,
That says it all.
it says it all.